Okay, so walking into a chemistry lab for the first time, yeah, it can be a little intimidating. You've got all this glassware, these weird smells, but what if I told you it's not about surviving, it's about creating? This is your guide to turning that first day nervousness into pure discovery. Let's jump in. I mean, you've seen the movies, right? People in white coats mixing these colorful bubbling liquids. But what's actually happening in there? What is the whole point of all that complicated equipment and all those strange chemicals? A chem lab is basically where ideas get put to the test. Every single tool, from a simple glass beaker to a complex distillation setup, it all has a very specific job. It's a world that's totally driven by curiosity, but it's held together by two things that are absolutely crucial: precision and safety. Your first day is all about getting the why behind the work. This is the place where all those abstract ideas from your textbook, well, they suddenly become very, very real. So, why are we here? Your time in the lab really boils down to four big goals. You're not just following a recipe book. You're going to see the scientific method play out in real time. You'll apply what you've learned to solve actual problems, and you'll master the hands-on techniques that are the bedrock of pretty much any scientific field. Now, before we even dream of touching a single chemical, we've got to talk about the dress code. And this has nothing to do with fashion. It is all about function. Your number one layer of protection is always what you're wearing. And let me be super clear here. These are not suggestions. This is a strict dress code. Got long hair? It has to be tied back. You need a proper lab coat, one that covers your knees. And those are splash-proof goggles, not your sunglasses, not your regular glasses, and they stay on at all times. And finally, shoes that completely cover your feet. Every single one of these things is a non-negotiable barrier between you and something going wrong. All right, so you're dressed for success. Now let's talk about the rules of the lab. Think of them as the operating system for everything you're about to do. And the most important command is always, always safety first. Let's get this one out of the way right now because it's an absolute. No food, no drinks, no gum. Ever. The risk of accidentally contaminating something, or worse, ingesting something you've been working with, is just way too high. Leave it all outside the door. Okay, here is a rule that could literally save your skin. Just remember the 3 A's. Always add acid. Why? Well, when you mix concentrated acid with water, it creates a massive amount of heat. If you add acid slowly to a lot of water, the water can absorb that heat safely. But if you do it the other way around, you add water to acid, that water can instantly flash boil and splash concentrated acid right back in your face. So, always add acid. Before you touch any chemical, you have to know what you're dealing with. This diamond label you see here, it's called the NFPA 704 standard, and it's basically your safety cheat sheet. A quick glance tells you everything you need to know. Blue is for health hazards. How bad is it for you? Red is for flammability. Yellow tells you how unstable it is, could it explode? And that white section at the bottom is for special hazards, like if it reacts violently with water. You always, always read the label. And why do those labels matter so much? Well, because of words like this. Corrosive doesn't just mean it's a little irritating. It means the substance can cause serious, legitimate chemical burns. This is exactly why you wear goggles and a lab coat. You're protecting yourself from things that are literally designed to react. Now, among all the safety regulations, there's one rule that tends to surprise people. It's rule number 27. Any ideas? That's right. Scream. This is not the time to be polite or worry about what anyone thinks. If there's a real emergency, a fire, a big spill, an injury, the single most important thing you can do is get help immediately. A loud scream cuts through all the other noise in the lab and instantly tells everyone something is seriously wrong. It's a surprising rule for sure, but it might just be the most important one. Okay, we've covered how to keep yourself safe. Now let's talk about the tools. Because working in a chemistry lab is all about precision. The results of your experiments are going to depend entirely on how carefully you handle your equipment. In chemistry, there really are no small mistakes. A tiny error in measurement, just a fraction of a milliliter too much or a speck of a gram too little, can completely throw off your entire reaction. Learning to be accurate isn't just a side skill. It's as fundamental as the chemistry itself. So, what does accuracy actually look like? Well, when you're measuring a liquid in a graduated cylinder, you'll notice the surface isn't flat, right? It curves down in the middle. That curve is called the meniscus. To get a perfect reading, you have to get your eyes right down to the same level as the liquid and take your measurement from the very bottom of that curve. It's a tiny detail, but it makes a world of difference. So we're dressed, we know the rules, and we know how to be precise. Let's put it all together and walk through a classic first experiment, distillation. It's a really cool physical process that lets you separate substances just based on their different boiling points. Here's the game plan. We start with a solution of potassium permanganate, which makes the water purple. Then we heat it up. Now, water boils at a much lower temperature than the purple stuff, so the water turns into steam, leaving the color behind. That steam then travels into a cold tube, which we call a condenser. There, it cools down and turns back into pure, liquid water, which we can collect in a separate container. And here's what that setup looks like in action. You can see the flask on the left being heated, boiling the mixture. The vapor travels up and into that long glass tube, the condenser, where it gets cooled down, and finally you see the pure, clear liquid dripping into the flask on the right. Every single piece of glass has a critical job to do. You've finished your experiment, you've recorded all your data, but hold on, you're not done yet, not even close. A good scientist is a clean scientist, and the final part of your lab work is just as important as the very first step. Think of this as your shutdown sequence. Chemical waste goes into special containers, never ever down the sink. Your workstation has to be spotless for the next person. You have to double check that all the gas and water valves are completely off. And the final, critical step, wash your hands thoroughly. It's the last barrier that makes sure you leave the lab and everything you worked with safely behind you. After all these rules and procedures, I get it. It might seem a little intense. But you have to remember this quote from the very beginning of the lab manual. The rules aren't there to make things hard. They're there to make things safe, so you can focus on the adventure part. The chemistry lab isn't just a room with equipment, it's a place where we get to understand the very building blocks of our world. By following the rules, you're not limiting yourself. You're actually giving yourself the freedom to explore safely. You're ready. So the only question left is, what will you discover?